Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Life Tech and Beyond. I am super excited to have a really special guest joining me today. Today, I'm being joined by Harnoor Singh, who is the founder of one of the biggest tech channels in the world with over 1.2 million subscribers. The channel is called Sing in USA. So, Harnoor, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much. So happy to be with one of the youngest Microsoft developer. You are an inspiration, and thank you for having me.
Perfect. Yeah, we also did an episode on her news channel as well, so you guys can check that out, depending on whenever this goes live. So the format is this is being live streamed right now. If you're someone who's watching the recording, you're probably watching this on YouTube. But if you're watching this live, feel free to drop your questions in the chat as well. The way we'll do this is I'll ask some questions for about 10, 20 minutes, and then we'll switch over to the chat if there's any question that the chat has. So we'll do it like that.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, so I guess I just want to start off from the absolute top. Um, just your journey into. So currently, I'll explain to people. So you work at Microsoft as a software engineer, and then you also run a really, really big YouTube channel as well. So start off, like, how did this all start? Like, how did you get into YouTube? How did you get into tech? And how did you get into Microsoft?
Um, so it all started in 2018. I met one of a fellow computer science student in my classroom, and at the time, my goal was to just create passive income. Like I couldn't afford college as easily as I wanted to. I was dependent on my parents. I wanted to, stand on my own feet. Kind of similar to yours, like you wanted to, give financial freedom to your parents, and similar was my belief as well. I just want to make my parents financially free, be myself financially free, and luckily that happened as well by the age of 20. So I started my college at the age of 18, and when I was 19, I met my classmate, and with whom I started a YouTube channel because I did not have the confidence to start a YouTube channel by myself. So I started, didn't go well, but I continued to pivot, and somehow I saw some Facebook groups about study abroad, and I started, to make content like that as well, because in my recommendations I was seeing full of study abroad channels because I started making one video. So I made first video on my F1 visa interview, and I suddenly YouTube gives me tons of recommendation about study abroad. I was like, I can do that as well. So while me being part of a Facebook group about study abroad, while my whole YouTube recommendation full of study abroad, I started my channel on study abroad.
Yep. And so just to give people some context, so you're right now based in Atlanta in the United States, and before you're obviously based out of India, where you started your journey into studying abroad, basically. So as
Correct. Yeah, I moved. Correct. I moved to the US like 8 years ago as an international student. Yeah, that's right.
and what was the thing that you were pursuing your education in?
Computer science at Georgia State. I went to not the top school, like top 100 or more or less, school. I wanted to go to Georgia Tech but couldn't afford, and Georgia State University, 2 miles away from Georgia Tech, gave me scholarship, and I started studying here.
Perfect. And was that for a bachelor's program or a master's?
So that was for undergraduate at the age of 18. Yeah. Mhm.
And then after that, you've also done a master's as well, right?
Correct. So I did 4+1, but which was kind of 3+1 for me because I had enough AP credits. So it just, boosted my undergraduate degree from 4 to 3. So I did +1 masters, so 3+1.
Yeah. And then so during your time in studying, you're still producing content, creating vlogs, giving out information to students as well. What was the particular area that you like? Obviously, you've also documented your journey as well, like you studying, working during the summer as well. I think doing an internship, I believe, and then
Correct.
working now at Microsoft as well. So how was that life like balancing YouTube and then also like doing your own personal student and the tech, like your work in the tech world?
Yeah, it was easy because I was always obsessed over one thing at a time. So, when I was 18, I was like, I want to get internship in tech as soon as possible. So my whole year as an 18-year-old boy was all like, applying to companies, trying my best to get an interview and clear that interview. And I luckily got into my got into Panasonic Automotive at the age of 18, and like did an internship in my first year. And when you like when the first internship happens, you feel like you have uh, you have like achieved enough as a CS student, then you're sure that you will get another internship next summer as well. I think that's what every CS student feels like. So then I started to think that now I'm 19, I can do something beyond. So that's how the motivation came.
You work at Panasonic, and then did you do any other internships afterwards as well, like
Yeah.
before graduating? Yeah.
So Panasonic first summer, and then NCR 2 more summer. Actually, so NCR is National Cash Register. It's a startup that started from Ohio, and it's like I think majority of the ATMs currently are made by NCR. When you go to Walmart, Amazon store, which is called Amazon Go and Amazon Whole Foods, you go there, you want to do a self checkout, you see the point of sale systems created by NCR.
I see. Yeah. And
So
then, so you did Panasonic, NCR, and then it was graduation, then Microsoft.
yeah, I graduated and then I worked full time at NCR for 2 years. I tried to get into Microsoft like 5 to 6 times, and I got rejected till the sixth time when I got in finally.
And so, share that journey a little bit, like getting into Microsoft, and all this time you're still in Atlanta.
Yeah, correct. I have been, whole my life I've been in Atlanta. Uh, like my perception has been like, I want to live in an affordable city which gives me freedom to travel every month. I would rather live in a cheaper city where I can have enough savings to go out of Atlanta every month, rather being in a big top city like San Francisco where I can barely afford to go out. Like, you know, uh, like people in San Francisco can relate. Like, they cannot even, like, majority of the friends I have in San Francisco, like the expenses are so high, you're like spending majority percentage of your salary. So that's why I wanted to live in Atlanta. And so talking about my journey to getting into Microsoft, so I think it happened thanks to 2022, the year the hiring was like crazy. I think the interview rounds were challenging for me. I had 6 rounds. So the year I got into Microsoft, I had one first technical, the phone call interview. That went well. And after that, like I had 5 rounds in 2 days. And out of those, one round I did terribly. But luckily, because I did good in the 4 rounds, I got in. So it was because of lead code and like practicing enough for 30 days, and it worked out.
Yeah. Mine was the same as well. So one phone interview and then five, but I had five back to back in one day. All five were okay, were pretty good. I mean, there wasn't like one that I terribly was bad at, but my hiring also happened. So I joined Microsoft for, I mean, those, I mean, you guys should be watching this on my channel, so you guys should know. I joined Microsoft in October 2021. So this is still like in that pandemic boom. Like the job market was just crazy. Like every company was just hiring like crazy. So it was like during that time as well. So that's good to hear. So one thing you mentioned, like you mentioned the word like friends in San Francisco. So this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit. So one of the things that you do on your YouTube channel, which I'm a really big fan of, is you interview other people in the tech world, people who've gone through like their own student journeys, their own like tech startup journeys, etc. So I wanted to ask you, from all the people that you've interacted with, so the people that are operating at a really high level, running like big tech startups, big companies, what are some of the common qualities that you've seen of like these high performing people in the tech industry?
I think you are the result of your surroundings. Like, I think, it's a human tendency. You want to be the best among your peer group. So I think people who are surrounded by founders, they tend to be founders. People who are surrounded by top earning people, they tend to be the top performers and top earning tech professionals. So I think uh, my friends who moved to San Francisco, they were already at Georgia Tech in a community where they had the dream of moving to San Francisco. And throughout their college journey, like from second year onwards, they worked at NCR, like me. We were interns together. And then after that, they were like, no, we don't want to settle just by doing internship at NCR. They want to go above. They want to climb the bigger ladder. They want to get the bigger like they want to keep on getting they want to aim higher every single time. So they were aiming all the group of students at Georgia Tech where I was surrounded after that NCR internship. All of them got into Meta, Salesforce, Google, Microsoft, and all in Bay Area or like Seattle. That's the place it was considered in my friend group to to have a successful tech life. So that's the place everyone wanted to. And I, even though I was, you would say that why I did not go, even though I was in the same circle, I did not go because I started to chase different things. I, rather than spending like, hours on lead code to crack those interviews, which I couldn't, as you saw that I did not get into Microsoft till the sixth attempt. I focused on my YouTube channel. Like I was vlogging, like trying to think about content 24/7. That was my highest priority in my third and fourth year of college. I was like, NCR internship, it's so easy. Like I have it. I know I have a return offer. So after the first NCR internship, I immediately got a return offer in 2 months. Then later on, again, I got a return offer. So two internships at NCR, and then like after that just getting a full-time job because I knew since October that basically life is set, like that I have a job waiting for me. So I started focusing on something beyond, which was YouTube for me, and for my friends it was getting a job in San Francisco.
Then you've, I mean, made significant progress in your goal as well, like amassing over 1.2 million subscribers now. So like, how do you manage this right now? Where is your content creation career in your list of priorities? Like how, because you still obviously work full time at Microsoft. So how do you strike a balance?
Sure. I strike a balance by like having dedicated time. I go to office 3 days a week, and I work with my colleagues there in person. Like whenever I'm like sitting 9 to 5 in one place, like maybe like 10 to 6, or time changes here and there. But like when I'm sitting in one place, and it's our mind's tendency, when you focus on one thing you want to keep on doing that for longer. So I'm easily able to, in the setting when I'm surrounded by people working really hard, I'm easily able to like finish my work by 5 or 6 p.m. and then go for swimming to like to bring my brain into relax my brain. Yeah, mental reset. Yeah, as you say. So just like you have the same schedule as me, pretty much like a mental reset, and then I focus on YouTube, coming back home, like editing. I focus on like things which require more energy first. So like I'm coming back at like 8 p.m. after swimming or working out, and 8 p.m. onwards, I would first rather film a video rather than focusing on publishing, editing, etc. Because that requires more energy. If 10 p.m. I'm on my bed, then I won't be able to film. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And do you still do all the editing, all the packaging yourself?
I know every single part of it. Like there's this lot of AI I have used. So what I do is like I love editing. I have been editing since my 8th grade. I was taught in my school. So I try to learn every single part of editing by myself. But when I know it's repetitive, it's going to take me longer, I give it to an editor. So I do have editors as well.
I see. And what's your content strategies these days? Like, do you mainly focus on long form content, or have you now switched more to short like reels and TikToks and stuff as well?
I I focus mainly on long form. I believe like if there's something like news and stuff which I'm very passionate for, such as I made a very exciting reel recently. Like OpenAI is hiding something from you, like such as like Claude is better for AI. That's a reel I made recently. It's something which excites me, and I was like, oh, this is a great news, and people are maybe missing out this news in 12 days of OpenAI hype. Wanted to remind people that Claude is still better for coding, and which I still use. So these kind of small topics I still make reels about, and but I heavily focus. 90% of my time is on long form. I believe that short form is something which should be easily reusable from long form, and I use some AI tools which like helps me make clips out of those long form content I have. And I also like take help from editors to like when they are editing the long form, while editing they clip out few clips so I can post. So I yeah, yeah. So both go hand in hand. Yeah.
I see. How do you plan your content? Like, what do you like? There's tech news, obviously, like new stuff that's been happening. But then, like the other videos, like how do you plan that? Like, what's your strategy for that?
I think I personally think because I follow a lot of newsletters. One of my favorite one is the information. So keep on I stay updated with the hype. I know what technologies are hyped right now and what will be. And because I'm following those topics for so long, because I always read about crypto, read about how AI works. For example, watching Andre Karpathy videos, he's one of the best AI educator right now. So because I consume so much AI content and also use and implement, like implementing RAG applications, using that latest technologies in Microsoft. So whatever something new I read at different sources, I combine those and like reshare. So that's my formula. And some ideas come from the comment section. Like they're like asking me to interview XYZ person who recently moved to Atlanta. And like, I'm like, oh, wow, I need to reach out to them. So that's how it works too.
And what's your, I guess so. This is your content strategies, like some of the stuff you've done. How long has it taken you to get your channel to this point? Because you mentioned you were focusing a lot, like during your last year, during your studies. Like, what's been the journey like so far to grow out the YouTube channel this much?
Yeah. So I reached like 20,000 subscribers in my first year. So of YouTube. So 1 year later, I had 20,000. And 3 months after 20,000, I got 100K because once I figured out what's working, I just made ton of those videos, and I found I kind of felt like, oh, I know what's gonna work, and such as day in life videos were popping a lot at the time, and I made like multiple day in life videos in 3 months. What I do as a software engineer. That was 2019. So 2019, it was a new age of day in life. Like, I think you may have seen as well, day in life of a Harvard student. That was the internet all about at the time. They were the biggest hit. So I made those, and I reached 100K in 3 months after 20K. And then I kept on trying new things here and there. And I don't remember when I reached 500K, but I do remember 2022, after 4 years of YouTube, I reached 1 million.
I see. Okay. And during there was also one incident I heard on, well, I saw on your Twitter. You won an iPhone, I believe, from Marcus Brownlee. What was that about? Like that
So
story. Can you describe?
sure, that's a very interesting story. So it was 2018, my first year on YouTube, and third year on college, uh, and I had never owned an iPhone. I had never owned a single Apple device at that point. And I just randomly commented on Marcus Brownlee, thinking that maybe out of sympathy I would win an iPhone that day. And I even forgot about that comment. It was not like, oh, I was thinking like, for 30 minutes to comment that. It was just few seconds I spent in commenting, and I forgot about it. And then I don't even watch his videos that regularly. I didn't watch his video that maybe the giveaway winner will be announced or anything. I just saw the email that I have won the iPhone. I was like, this must be scam. Then I went to his Twitter and saw that I was tweeted that I am the winner. And that was interesting because the first winner he picked from the comment section, that person did not comment the color of iPhone he or she wanted. So the criteria was you need to comment the color of the iPhone you want. And the first person Marcus picked got eliminated because that person did not pick the color. It was so stupid. And then Marcus picked the second winner, and it turned out to be me.
Yeah, and then you had the color, so
Yeah. And then 6 years later, this year, before the Apple event, he gives me a shout out. I just said hi to him, and then he gives me a shout out 6 years later that after the iPhone, he created a YouTube channel and crossed 1 million. Because at the yeah, it was insane. I was surprised because when he gave the iPhone to me, it was like the beginning of my channel. I wouldn't even call myself a YouTuber because I didn't even have like 100 videos. I had 4,000 subscribers. So it was kind of this insane journey.
yeah. Yeah, that's a full like a full circle moment. So that's very good to hear. What would your advice be for someone these days who are looking to start a YouTube channel? Like someone who's starting fresh, like 0 subscribers these days, like from all the experience that you have in video creation, like any quick tips or advice that you can share?
I mean, I would say start creating videos with whatever phone you have. Right now, everyone have like great video creation camera in their pockets these days, right? And then create videos and then find giveaways, comment what you want, and get an iPhone, and then create videos on that iPhone, and then keep on making videos.
Keep doing it for 6 years and then get a shout out once you get 1 million subscribers. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, jokes apart, I mean, I think what makes, I think every YouTuber talks about this. What makes them unique is consistency. Like, a lot of people try hundreds of new things, but give up after doing it maybe 10 times, 12 times. Like, a lot of podcasts, I saw that average life of a podcast is like 12 videos. But if you think about any successful podcast, like they have hundreds of videos, hundreds of podcasts they did, and then they reached where they are right now. So that's the whole mantra. Yeah.
And how do you balance consistency versus actually like improving on quality? Because like this is something for me as well. Like I run a YouTube channel as well, and one of the biggest problems with me is like if I go into like a consistent phase where I'm just producing videos, then I like they don't perform that well. Because like I in my mind, like if I spend more time on one video, like making the storytelling better, packaging better, like that would do better. So how do you strike that balance between like quantity and quality?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I personally like prioritize the work at Microsoft, and whatever time I have, based on that, I think of creating more videos. Like sometimes, like you just schedule too many podcasts, and when you have added in your calendar, like 8 p.m., like talking to you today at 8 or 9 p.m., if it's in my calendar, it'll happen, right? You no matter what, it'll happen. But about creating videos, editing them, if you don't have time, I just postpone it, right? Like I believe that, yeah, I personally think that I don't hire full-time people to work with me in this journey. I feel like I should be accountable to only one person, that is my manager, like as a software developer. But for my creative task, I keep YouTube as a hobby. So since it's a hobby, I can do whenever I want at my own will. Only like accountabilities I have maybe is my calendar, which I commit to. But other than that, I can always say that, oh, I'm going to cancel out of this brand deal, or I will not make this video because I don't have time. I'm going to prioritize my family, friends, and work. So that's how I keep it like very lighthearted. Like it's just a hobby. Like I think, yeah, whenever you convert your passion into business, you lose sometimes. I don't know, not all people, but some people do lose the fun they used to have by doing that that uh, that that hobby as a hobby.
And then you don't also burn out as well, so that keeps you consistent in the long run as well. Like if you do it as a hobby.
Correct. Yeah, I don't let myself burn out. Maybe in the early stages of my YouTube channel I used to burn out, but not anymore.
No. So what are your goals now? So you are working at Microsoft. Obviously, you have a YouTube channel in parallel. So your content creation and also software engineering. What are like some of the goals that you have for yourself?
I think the biggest goal is to live my life. I love to travel, have different hobbies, and to work out. Like I try to make every single part of my life fun. I mean, of course, it's not possible all the time. Like my life is not full of roses, but I personally think that I want to make it as much as possible. Like for example, working when I'm traveling, like sometimes as I told you, every month I try to travel in the US. Like since remote work is amazing, I can travel and work in the US in different parts. I try to work in San Francisco office, or other parts of California, New York, and I've done some videos in those offices, and they're just mind blowing, those cities. And I think I think as you travel, like you know, there's a famous quote I'm gonna share. So I've shared that in my videos too. Like, yeah, you must have heard that. Like, you would be rather stressed. Um, let me start from the beginning. From the beginning. So the quote is, "Money doesn't buy happiness, but I would rather be stressed in a Ferrari than in a cubicle." So I may not have a Ferrari, but I personally think that I would rather be stressed while I'm traveling, maybe in New York City, in different places, like in California, when I'm like changing different locations, like in nature. I would rather be stressed there rather than in a cubicle. So always having, those ambitions to travel and exploring new culture, new places, that's like Ferrari for me in the same context.
Yeah, yeah. So do you do a lot of your travel within the States or internationally as well?
Not a lot internationally, but like once or twice a year
I
internationally.
see, but mainly
Yeah.
just within the States. So like
Yeah.
New York, West Coast, San Francisco, Seattle. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's good. So I guess okay. So that's a bit about like your story, your YouTube channel. Now I wanted some of your thoughts on what's happening in tech right now. We'll start. I have three topics that I want to talk about: job market, AI, and like just the future of software engineering, plus also content creation, how that will tie in.
Uh
So
huh.
number one, so obviously, I mean, we both joined Microsoft during the hiring boom, and then after that, I think it was 2023 that it kind of died down. So there was a lot of
Correct.
hiring freeze. Yeah. So like companies were only hiring for senior positions only, like the critical roles. So what are your thoughts now on people who like have come from abroad to study in the States, and now, or even like people here locally who are now trying to crack into the tech industry? Like what's the landscape for them specifically? Like what are your thoughts on like the job market in the coming years?
I think job market might not be getting as better as people think. Like I want to cite two examples. Number one, Salesforce CEO, and number two, Klarna's CEO. They openly shared they have invested enough into GPUs and creating AI agents which are working so well without increasing the number of employees they have, without hiring more engineers. They will be getting more growth, and they will be getting more revenue. So basically, these two companies are are saying that openly. I don't know about other companies, but I think there is a pattern. Like all companies hiring GPUs are literally telling their employees, try to be more productive with what you have. So I think it's a clear sign that the hiring will be very much similar to what we have in 2024. So people have to find ways to be unique and to build stuff which is as close to real life projects as possible, which shows value in the company you want to apply. And like when you make real world projects, real world problems you solve, you are pretty much close to the industry. So when you already by yourself doing work which is almost like industry, no industry will be like saying or telling you that you can be hired, right? So people have to work way harder right now to get jobs as compared to when we were in 2021 or 2022, like just apply, getting accepted.
Jobs opening every time. Yeah, I think no,
Yeah.
that's a really key point you mentioned. Work on real product. That's something I say as well all the time on my channel. because like that's the human part of building software. Because like if you are writing like Python scripts and like backend servers, like all of that, like GPT can do easily. But actually bringing a product to life, like understanding how a human would interact with it, what a problem it solves, like that's the human thing that a AI agent is not necessarily at that level yet. Like understanding humans, the colors, like just different interactions, like just bringing a product to life, basically. Like that's what you want to spend most of your time with, because that's where you'll learn most of the key skills, like the
Mhm.
non-AI skills, basically. Because the coding part, that's now just that's been like the playing field has been leveled with coding. Like anyone can code now with GPT. So it's like what you code, how you code it. That's the main thing. And I guess in terms of what would your advice, because this is something I get a lot. I asked, so excuse me, I get this asked a lot. Is like, should we now invest our time into studying about computer science or becoming a software engineer, or should we like look into some other alternative paths? What would your response be to that?
I think still tech is the most, it's the highest paying job you can get just by studying for a few years. I think there is still enough demand, but the demand is now for niche engineers who are maybe 10x developers, as people call them. So,
And by
I,
that you mean like people who specialize in one thing really good, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they could be, jack of all trades as well as master of one. You know, both are fine. But I think jack of all trades have to be at the right place, right time. But the people who are master of one and who are in high demand, they can maybe like they can go wherever they want to. Like they have more leverage. For example, uh, great great AI leaders like Andre Karpathy, you know, or that might be a really rare example, but I'm just saying that great AI scientists like those who have made a name for themselves, no matter where they want to go, they can.
Yeah. Because it's the they're not generalists per se. They specialize, so they're specialists. But then they also have like this very like niche specialization. So like the way I'm thinking about this is like you can be a general software engineer. So it's like most of the programming concepts. You can adapt pretty much. But there's a specialist who's like been doing one thing for a really long time, like making apps, for example, or like making PlayStation games, for example. Like they specialize in that piece of software. But even within that, there's different niches. Like how for example, like say just let's just take app development, because that was what I started with as well. Like that was my main core journey, main specialization. Like even within app development now, there's such a big range just in that specific industry as well. So what would you recommend? Like how deep do people should focus on in being a specialist? Like should they, like for example, like say pick I don't know, on top of my head, like React Native, Flutter, like just focus on mastering like these cross-platform app frame. We're talking strictly in the app development world. It's like, should they focus strictly on these or like native platforms as well? Like how much should people specialize in something?
I think people shouldn't think that way. Like they shouldn't think that, oh, you need to like, take exams to be like Python 5 out of 5. Like you're not like it's not an exam you're trying to crack. You're just trying to build multiple projects in the same field, like building React apps, React Native, iOS, Android apps. Like when you build different kinds of apps and you build them end to end and build maybe like small apps to bigger apps, you automatically become experienced. You automatically figure out what problems they are facing. You automatically start thinking from scalable point of view. You start thinking about scalability. You start thinking about handling more users. That's what like a better developer does. So don't think that you need to go really deep. Think you need to make multiple projects and things. Chase excellence in your passion, and rest will happen on its own.
In the projects you focus on that actually solve a real world, like some like an actual thing that you're providing more value to the world. Like it's not like you're just following YouTube tutorials online, just cloning WhatsApp clone, Facebook clone, and those are your projects. I think that's Like that's really key as well for learning. The second thing I wanted your thoughts on is AI, particularly in the context of like people who are students right now who want to get into the tech industry in the next couple of years. How much should they be focusing on AI, or is it more like a hype kind of thing?
Um, that's a very good question. I don't think people need to heavily focus on AI. There is still strong demands for roles like React developers, Android developers. In the job description, in the interview criteria, there's nowhere mentioned AI. So even if you don't follow the hype, you can be successful. You will still be an expert, which is still high demand. Like a good example would be like ChatGPT's, you know, Spanish tutor AI assistant is so amazing. Like, I can currently talk to ChatGPT, make the assistant a tutor, ask for help in my math assignments, share my screen. I can do all of that right now, and you could do somewhat before as well. But that doesn't mean that all teachers are dead right now. That doesn't mean that you don't need a human teacher, right? Same is what a developer does. Like, I think it's true that a lot of simple coding problems can be solved by ChatGPT, but you still need a developer who is accountable. And I think all those non AI jobs are still important.
Yeah. So it's like people. I
Important,
think
right?
have you heard of the new Devon AI that got released?
Yeah, it is good with like basic tasks, but not, big end to end tasks it still can do.
So a lot of people like their main concern is like, hey, like all the software engineering jobs will be now taken by AI. So I'll just skip that. I'll just study AI, like learn how to build these large language models and like data science, AI, and stuff. So I guess for people who still want to get in the tech industry, the scope is still there for you to get. But what you want to focus on is like the human aspect of it, like building products, like those core specialized skills, not like general, just doing lead code problems like 10 hours a day and like that's your skill. Like that, that's
Correct.
not, yeah.
Totally. One example, like one question I'll ask you, like, think about our teams as developers. You worked in the industry. Think about our team. You would find that there is no one engineer who has expertise around all parts of the project, right? You need help from multiple specialized engineers, even if they were exposed to the whole project. If it's a big iOS app, let's say 3 to 4 engineers are working on a big iOS app, there can be still a single engineer who knows the whole app entirely. Do you agree or not? Yes, same will be AI. Maybe you can train one AI agent to be expert in one part of the app. But if you want to know the whole app, you would have 4 agents or 4 models. So that's why I think, you don't need to know everything to the fullest. If you know few parts, and if you are willing to be curious and work with other teammates, you're good enough.
Yeah, so having the confidence in you and being adaptable, being open to being adaptable, I think that's more important than like learning a programming language. Because even I think people also don't realize like when you're actually working in like big tech, aside from startups, because they are fresh, like brand new ventures, but like when you're working in existing functioning tech companies, a lot of the stuff that you do is like you're building software on top of software that was already built. So it's not like okay, we're gonna add this new feature in our software. Like okay, go Devin, like A to Z, do it. Like there's still so many human things that you have to think through. Like how do we support this with our existing system? How do we make sure our existing system doesn't break and stuff like that? So like the tech world is very complex. So for anyone who's like very afraid that all this will be replaced, like there will be scope for human software engineers for a long time to come. But it will get a
Totally.
bit more competitive, a bit more harder. So
Totally. And another example is like you mentioned in your videos so many times, coding is something anyone can do. Your journey, you said that the biggest thing that helped you reach where you are is communication and right place, right time. Right? You mentioned that. So I think that happens only if you keep on trying and if you are relentless, with your
yeah.
skills.
Yeah, and then also having confidence to be adaptable. So like you've been working in one thing for a really long time, like totally fine. Like you have that, confidence that even if it's hard to pick up like a new skill, you switch frameworks, switch environments, you need to be open to being adaptable. Because if you're not, then Devin will be. So you need to be Devin. So okay, we have one question in the chat. So Kasim asked, how can a beginner build a strong how can a beginner build a strong public and create a strong portfolio? Assuming he's asking like how you build a strong public brand around like your LinkedIn, your strong portfolio. Do you have any tips for sharing your work, how you present yourself to others, and how you can grow a personal brand as a developer?
I think two kinds of content work the best. If you are a developer, if you want to build a great portfolio, I think just creating your profile on LinkedIn and X is not enough anymore. Just by making it like, available to be hired status on LinkedIn and X is not enough. You have to actively engage with the community and share what you're doing. Number one is like you go to hackathons, share what you did there, share what you built. And I would say first post, let's say I go to a hackathon, I would make a first post that I am at this hackathon building X. Number two post could be how I built X at Y in Z hours. If I share these interesting posts, how I'm building, many people are interested in knowing what are you building and how you are building. So if you keep sharing that, and everyone has completely different story of how they build things. So, just by these two categories of posts, you keep on sharing on X and LinkedIn, you would get some traction. And that traction will rank your name on the top of the algorithm when recruiters want to find you on those platforms. And engage with other people you work with. You have classmates, tag them on your post, share their post, ask them to share your post. Create that network in which you share information with each other, and you will be ranking topper. You will be ranking yourself in the top recommendation of the recruiters who may search for your name on LinkedIn or X someday.
And not only that, I'll add on to it because the way you like make money in software once you know how to create software is by either getting a job or you can do both in parallel. I do both in parallel. You can create software for other people. So basically like freelancing kind of. So not only would like having a strong portfolio or online presence help with your job search as well, it could perhaps potentially also help you get new like freelance clients as well. Like you've been documenting your journey of creating an app, like perhaps someone who has an app idea may reach out to you. So like it only leads to more opportunities for you. So like it's not necessarily just for a job as well. Like I've gotten a lot of projects like that. I used to do a lot of Facebook group marketing. I still do. So like I'd join local community groups. I would tell a little bit about myself, and then I would just say like, hey, if anyone has an idea for an app, like just let's just do a free call, and then I'll like give you a plan on how we can build it out. And that gave me a lot of like literally like a lot of freelance projects that I've been able to work on and outside of my job. So that's something that can help you as well, online presence. Another thing I wanted to ask you is how much do you think now should people focus on well, we kind of touched on it, but social media, but particularly content creation? Because like in terms of like there's showcasing your work, which is one thing, but then there's also educating other people about tech, which is completely different, something which you do. So like teaching people tech, sharing tech news, etc. Do you think is that important, is that a must for everyone now in the modern age and like the next coming 5-10 years if they want to maximize their success in the tech world, to be like content producers as well as like do their tech jobs?
I think that's an excellent question. All the top folks I know, I met a top NVIDIA AI lead. I met uh, another example could be like Andre Karpathy, even people like Ilyas Sutskever. All the top to maybe like low level engineers I know, they are creating some sort of content, like whether going to some talks to present their work or posting on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, or engaging with the audience so that they are known for their work every single year, at least once. They're recognized every single year. So I think currently, not just for businesses, the direct way of promoting yourself is over. You need to prove yourself with content. You can see so many ads these days. They're so different than what used to be before. Like, check out this platform immediately. Rather than saying that, people just create content and naturally integrate in their lives. For example, Cal AI. Have you heard about Cal AI? The 17-year-old founder who built a 1 million monthly revenue app. That founder does ads by asking people who are in fitness in their day in life routines to just show how they track, rather than saying, oh, go check out this app. Just by showing people how they use tech, how it's integrated in their life, how the passion they have for tech is integrated in their life, but just by just showing that indirectly, rather than writing that word passion, that I'm a passionate engineer. You can go a long way in the journey. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. So it is important for people to, because like as the years go by, tech will only get more competitive. So you need more points of difference to like set your name apart. Because if
Yeah.
you're like even with the job market, oh, I guess this is a good thing to ask you as well. So during, I think it was end of 2022, start of 2023, when there were the mass layoffs that were happening in the tech world. I'm sure, I mean, you probably
Yeah.
like made a lot of YouTube videos on it as well, like just the state of affairs. Like Microsoft laid out like tens of thousands of people. Meta, like a lot of companies kind of like just laid off employees, cut off new projects that they were doing. That kind of put job security in the tech world into question. So how reckon do you think are like how secure are tech jobs in the upcoming future? So like should people be like, say like if they're working a tech job, they recently got a job, in their mind should they think like, okay, wait, I've made it, like this is it, now I'll just try to excel at my job, or should they at the same time try to do something else as well, like something they can fall back on?
Mm.
Like how secure are tech jobs really?
Great question. I think I will still say tech jobs are still very secure in big tech. Didi made a tweet that in big tech there are some hidden engineers, not just in big tech, in startups, everywhere. There are some hidden engineers who are able to just survive the job by just working 2 to 3 hours a week, and or 2 to 3 hours a day. Like, it's just still insane that it's still possible. So uh, I think security exists if people are able to survive with 2 3 hours a day and not get fired or laid off, and um, just by working a little bit harder they can even thrive. So think that way. I think there is certain amount of security even if you get laid off. Like, you can get hired quickly. There is, once you have that first experience, I wouldn't say it's as quickly as it used to be before, but there is scope for experienced individuals out there. I would say that.
And then also like even if the number of jobs necessarily don't increase, but the number of startups are increasing every year, so that kind of like helps you give more opportunities as well. But as you said, like being a specialist in something is way better than being a generalist. Another question I have, well, I guess you mentioned the 2 to 3 work hours. I remember, I think this whole trend of layoffs was, I think, started by Elon when he bought Twitter. He laid off, I think, 80% of the workforce, and like Twitter was still functioning, and they were just like pumping out new features, like just upgrading the product. Like if someone who is working in a tech job, should they consciously be like thinking about something else as well, like maybe doing a startup on the side, or should they be like 100% committed to their jobs? Like what do you think this new generation of like the new tech employees, like what would like how do you
I think more than 33% of Gen Zs do beyond something beyond their job. That is a fact. They have at least two sources of income. That's a fact somewhere I saw. And I think remaining are just doing one job. So I think in this new landscape, it is definitely possible to have multiple sources of income, definitely possible to pursue two gigs at the same time. And people should just try. I think biggest thing that's stopping people is giving up too early. Like, uh, as I mentioned, like, average lifetime of a podcast is 12 episodes. People give up after creating 12 episodes. They think it's not going to work out. So similarly, like, creating more resilient workflows, like being more relentless, more resilient, and like thinking of success as a metric of years rather than months, depending on which area you are. If you're in content creation, maybe you can have a goal of maybe successful in few years. But maybe if you're doing maybe like projects, some small projects you're doing in tech, of course you cannot be like, I'll finish this project in 2 years, so depending on what you're doing, I think those goals, if they are made right with the right amount of time, I think it would be better.
Mm-hmm. And just one last question to end
Uh-huh.
off with. Is there any advice would you give for like students, high school, university students now who want to get into the tech world, but they're unsure where to start exactly? Like they hear so many of like these like AI is really big. A couple of years ago, I remember blockchain Web3 was really big, NFTs and like this and that. So they hear everything, but they want to pick something that they can then like specialize in, create projects in. So like what would be your like quick kind of roadmap for people who want to get into tech?
I would say figure out something you enjoy. I think if you get into something you don't like at all, and even if you're able to build one project and you hated the journey of building that project, it won't last. So figure out something you really, really care about. You're obsessed over it rather than just interested in it. Like I would give another example of your journey again, that you were obsessed over mobile app development. I can believe that you were building and trying and never giving up for 4 years when you were get that app out and making it viral, right? So when you're obsessed over a passion, when you have tried for years, like, okay, I like React, I like maybe Android, iOS, cybersecurity, when you think you're deeply caring about that topic as much that you are enjoying to read about that topic, enjoying building apps on that tech stack. So once that happens, I think, you know, everything is possible. Tech job, building your startup, everything is possible if you know your passion well. But which,
Rest
yeah,
to just will circle back to what you said in the YouTube one, which is just consistency. Like
correct.
just sticking to like all the one common thing with like everyone who's successful, whether they're like a big tech entrepreneur, YouTuber, like they've just stuck with one thing and did it like for a long amount of time. So that would be like the biggest roadmap. Like literally pick anything and then just stick to it as long as possible.
Correct.
Yeah. And then how do you block yourself? Like how do you control yourself from not like idea hopping? Like AI is really big, so I want to now learn about LLMs, prompt engineering, this and that. Next year, like I don't know, GI will be really big. I want to learn about GI now. Next way, like crypto would be like how do people like stop themselves from like staying committed to what they're on rather than just idea hopping, like trend hopping?
I think that's a mental switch you have to do. I was reading somewhere that people who are more insecure, they have more FOMO as well. Like, they think, I need to catch up on this new skill, blockchain coming, Bitcoin reaching 100K. I need to segue quickly. I need to learn how to build Web3 apps, even though it's not official yet. I saw like in this hype of blockchain, it's still not final who is going to be the SEC chair. If SEC chair is again like non-crypto guy, it might be that like regulations might not favor as much for Web3, and Web3 apps might not make it. Who knows? There's Everything is unpredictable. So at this point, it's really important you focus on what you enjoy and what expertise you are already like 80% there. For example, you building mobile apps, you were like 80% there, and starting something again from scratch and investing a couple of years into it, it's going to be more painful rather than like taking that 80% ability to 100%. So I think still stick to basics, still stick to what you enjoy, take interest here and there, it's okay, but do not let that one big passion which you cared about in the past, because that expertise will help you take you long way, right? For example, a lot of mobile app developers who were mobile app developers 10 years ago, they're still mobile app developers. They might have learned few other skills here and there, but their biggest expertise is still around mobile app developers. That's what I've seen with senior engineers around me. You agree or not? Like, you work with so many senior engineers in mobile app as well, right? How many years of experience they have, if you can tell?
Many like an industry experience, like not even like personal project, like actual app development experience with other like in actual company settings. So yeah, so I think that the fear that people have that, hey, I'm learning this now, but in the next 5 years, like this will be gone. Like that's the thing will be there. App development will be there. Web development will be there. Like just the things you do inside it might change here and there. The way you do work might change, but like the core field will still be there. We'll probably we'll end off on a saying. I remember I've heard this somewhere. I think it's like a Russian quote I've heard, that if you try to catch two chickens at once, you won't be able to catch any. Like that's what you need to think about as well. Like you want to focus on just catching one chicken, which is like whatever you're specializing in, but you don't want to like distract yourself from like you're almost making progress. You're so close, and then now you're focusing on like cybersecurity. You're so close, now you're focusing on blockchain apps and stuff. So
Oh, so you can carry only like one chicken at a time. That's what it's saying.
like if you try to catch two chickens at the same time, you won't be able to catch any. Like that's yeah.
Great quote. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a really good metaphor, which is like you just whatever you're doing, like just focus on just doing one thing. Because like even if you spend years, like you won't have any chickens at the end. Like you're trying to catch like two, three at once. So at least if you stick to one thing, you might have one thing at the end. So it'll just increase your chances of success. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Hernur, for joining us today. It's been amazing chatting with you, getting your thoughts on like learning about your journey, your student journey, your YouTube channel, how that started, and like some of your thoughts on like some of the stuff that's happening in the tech world now. So yeah, just again, thank you so much for doing this.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect.